Hello, welcome along. Now, I know I don't normally do things like this, but I have to talk about this film. I'm keeping my voice down a little bit because it's about 10 o'clock or so. So I'll just mention there are lots of spoilers in this. I'm basically just going to go through the film bit by bit and talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and so on. One of those is way more than the other, let's be honest. But yeah, needless to say, this video is full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen Star Wars yet, go and see it, stop watching this, go and see Star Wars, and then maybe come back to this, you might like it. So the first thing to say is the start. And so it starts off a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and you just hear this big intake of breath from everyone in the audience, like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and it just goes, bah, 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 bah. And I thought, I like Star Wars and I'm seeing it on opening day, but I didn't think it would affect me that much. But like throughout the whole opening crawl, I just had this shit-eating grin all over my face. It was amazing. And the opening crawl itself wasn't talking about, the treaty has been signed and the Congress has come and the Delta Wing obloids of the trade union. It was just quick to the point. It was quite short paragraphs. I hesitate to use the word dumbed down because what it did is it told you everything you needed to know, and it didn't kind of make you sit there going, remember this, remember that, remember this. It was just told you this is happening. Let's get on with it. Then the opening scene was brilliant because the main thing that they had to do with this film was win people over and say, this isn't the original trilogy. This isn't the prequel trilogy. This is the original trilogy. And so the first scene was pretty much play by play the opening scene of what's now episode 4. So you had the stormtroopers coming in, fighting these rebels essentially, and being good shots, for like the only time in the entire movie. And then the bad masked villain coming in and showing how much of a badass he is. And I thought I'd find the voice of Kylo Ren annoying with how distorted it was, but it was actually very easy to understand despite what Poe Dameron says. And so, he was genuinely menacing. And I really liked, I think his name's Adam Driver. These are all such relative unknowns, not superstars, so excuse me if I don't know all of their names. The way he acted Kylo Ren was really good. In that, like, Darth Vader, as played by Darth Prowse, has like this gait about him, like he seems like he stomps everywhere. And as much hate as the prequels get, Hayden Christensen mimics that really well, and you see it in episode 3. He stomps everywhere just like David Prowse does. Dave Prowse, by the way, went to the same school that I did, before me though. What's his face? Adam Driver does exactly the same thing in this film, which I think is a nice little homage. And obviously if you've seen the film, as you have watching this review, you'll know why that is a nice homage. Okay, so then we moved on to meeting, I'm probably going to forget some bits of the film, but we moved on to meeting Finn, or FN 2187, I think it was. See, my memory's terrible, obviously. And I really liked his origin story. I thought it was really interesting to see it from another perspective. See the whole thing going on, like, these guys are conditioned from birth, but, I don't really know I'm going with this train of thought, so it was just quite cool to have a different origin story that was a little bit different to usual. It was someone deserting what's left of the Empire. Oh, and the Empire, like, we don't really see what's happened, because the way I've always imagined episode 7 would play out is that, the Alliance have got their big victory by blowing up the Death Star, killing the Emperor, killing Vader, but at the end of the day, the whole Empire still exists. So they would still be rebels. The universe, the galaxy at large, wouldn't see them as, by the way, we'll just abandon all our governments and go over to you guys. But what seems to have happened in the real episode 7 is that the government, i.e. the Senate, etc., has just carried on, or rather the Senate came back, or whatever form of government, or planetary governments have just all said, right, let's stop this civil war, let's just have a stable government again, and that's your republic. Then you have what's the equivalent of the Imperial Remnant from the expanded universe, which is the First Order in this film, who are more like sort of hardline imperialists, loyal to the dark side. They're like extremists. But then you have the resistance, which is effectively the new rebellion, which they're sort of hardline the other way. So neither of them are the galactic government. That's what it seems like, because there is a stage where you think it looks like Coruscant is in trouble, but then they name the planet later on. It's not Coruscant, but they seem to say that they've destroyed the Republic and its fleet. So it's interesting that you seem to have the Republic as the main galactic government centered on a different world. All very interesting. But anyway, what happened next? Yeah, of course, I loved the reveal of the Millennium Falcon, and they oh, it's just a hunk of junk, pretty much. As soon as they were captured in the Falcon, I mean, I thought it was quite obvious it was going to be Han Solo, but it was lovely to see him back, and Chewbacca, and they've still got their old rapport going on, and so on and so forth. The whole business with Han Solo trying to talk his way out of trouble and everything, I felt like that kind of didn't really go anywhere. I think they could have shortened that sequence a little bit. And a chase through corridors with big special effects monsters. I think so much has been said about the practical effects, but make no mistake, there is still CGI in the film, because there's some stuff you just can't do with practical effects. Which leads us on to that Chinese lass, the little orange lady with the glasses. She was obviously CGI, which was kind of jarring coming from Jakku. Where you had all these things, there was one like bird pecking a thing in particular, which just looked quite fake, which I was quite disappointed about. But on the whole, it did work really well. You weren't sat there thinking, "Oh, he looks fake. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit of a buff, as it were, so I was looking out for these things, but it was really well done. But then coming from that to having not a main character, but like an important character being fully computer generated, was a little bit jarring. But when they're a main character, they obviously wanted to have expressions and raise their eyebrows and make go serious and then go happy, and you can't do that with just a silicone mask, unfortunately. So I understand why they did it. Then I think something I didn't like, although I was speaking to someone, I bumped into someone from work afterwards, and he sort of thought the opposite. He was talking about all this progression, but what I didn't like was that effectively you kind of had the Death Star on steroids. I think they've already done that. Like, first of all, you had the original Death Star, and there's people like the Death Star, let's bring the Death Star back, but bigger. And now it's like, well, we've blown up planets, so now let's bring back an even bigger one, which I thought was a bit silly. But it was interesting type of weapon anyway. We were saying, is the guy Gareth Edwards, who is behind the new Godzilla film, is doing episode 8. So so they've got the proton beam already, haven't they? So they're kind of halfway to having kaiju in Star Wars. I mean, tectonically, how would that planet work? But anyway, okay, yes. Something else I wanted to talk about was the humor in it, because like we had after the prequels and the Jar Jar debacle, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's not meant to be a comedy." Blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of humor in this film, but it was humor that I think was done very well. It didn't intrude. Like, it wasn't like there's serious scenes happening. Oh, by the way, humor. Ha ha ha. It does intrude once, but that is the joke, and that's what made it funny when C-3. Han and Leia just see each other for the first time again, and C-3PO just puts his head in. That was very funny. But yeah, I think the humour was done quite well, especially BB-8. Now, when I first saw BB-8, I was thinking, what is this? It's some like knockoff R2-D2, but oh my god, BB-8 is so funny and so cute. I want one, not a toy. I want a real one. I'm going to go to that bloody galaxy if it's the last thing I do. And I think it was actually an inspired decision, because you can get so much emotion and acting, if you like, from that little thing that's effectively just a ball and a head matron. Because, R2-D2 had that as well. And he makes all the same sorts of noises as R2-D2, but R2-D2 couldn't sort of cock its head in a cheeky manner and things like that. And that's what BB-8 does quite well. So that was pretty good. The reveal with who Kylo Ren was. Kylo Ren is, of course, Han Solo and Leia's son. reveal, I'm not sure. It was kind of a surprise, but the things, you can kind of see these things coming a little bit. Like in that, in the very first scene when they capture M, they, he says, "I know who you really are." So we're like, oh, okay, well, he's obviously someone important to the main cast then, isn't he? You could kind of guess it wasn't Luke Skywalker, just despite the rumors, because he was played by a different person. I mean, come on, some people are like, oh, the rumor, oh, could it be Luke Skywalker? We haven't seen Luke Skywalker in the film. It's played by a different person. Come on. But yeah, and I think, I mean, I kind of thought it would be their son because of what happened in the expanded universe. Like I didn't read any of that myself, apart from the Boba Fett books, but they do have one of their sons does turn to the dark side, and so I was kind of thinking, could it be him, as like Jason Jackin, I don't know how you pronounce it. So when the big reveal came, I kind of already knew. Even though I didn't. Do you see what I mean? Like, I wasn't sat there going, oh, he's obviously their son. But I was thinking, because of what happened in the expanded universe, I was thinking, no, what if it's their son, like in the expanded universe? And it was. And then, of course, the tragic moment when Han Solo actually gets literally shafted. I mean, having seen films before, I kind of figured that was going to happen when it was, I need to do something. Well, come on, this can only go one way, can't it? But the girl that sat next to me in the cinema, like when they got right close together, Han and Kylo Ren, you could just hear this girl going, no, 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 no. Like she just really didn't want Han Solo to die. And then when it happened, she just went like this. Oh. Obviously a Han Solo fan. But yeah, that was a bit tragic. The cinema gasped. Although, to be honest, talking about, I'm not just going to sit here gushing about the film. I'm going to say things that I thought were not too great. To be honest, what's his face? Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher's acting was not the best. With Carrie Fisher, I think it seemed like her face has been frozen with Botox. But Harrison Ford, like when he's delivering the serious lines, I just sit there thinking, this isn't very good. But like when he's being the scoundrel, he's really good. And I think he's just very good at playing that, and the serious stuff not so much. But it is really, really sad to see such an iconic character go, regardless of my completely unwarranted critique of an amazing actor's acting. Adam Driver as Kylo Ren was pretty good. He was creepy. He was really creepy, and I think that's exactly what they wanted. So that was very good. Gwendoline Christie was Captain Fantastic, Captain Phasma, the silver stormtrooper. I had no idea that was going to be a lady. So when her voice came out, I was really shocked, and I was thinking, brilliant, like some sort of strong female character, and a strong female character that doesn't conform to sort of, like, oh, I'm a strong female character, I'm going to talk about sex all the time. Like, a lot of strong female characters in Hollywood are sort of middle-aged male producers and scriptwriters' ideas of strong female characters, and then whereas really a strong female character is just like a person who is female, and that always really annoys me. And then, of course, what I don't think anyone expected is that Finn was not the Jedi, and they even set it up as well, didn't they? As they kind of had him taking the lightsaber. Well, first of all, Rey had her vision, which could have given you a hint. But then Finn was using the lightsaber. He weren't very good at it, but he had any training. And there's that moment when Kylo Ren is torturing Rey, and you realise that actually there's a bit more to her than you think. I was reminded of the Doctor Who episode, The Girl in the Fireplace, where a door once opened, maybe stepped through in either direction, when she kind of went back into his mind. Or even like Harry Potter, when with Snape and the mind training, or whatever it is, the brain training, Professor Snape's brain training. There's a crossover opportunity missed, I think. And that moment when what's his face? Finn tries to fight Kylo Ren, and it doesn't really work out for him, does it? He gets pretty much cut up a little bit. And we got to see what the point of those the hilt thing. I forgot what it's called. Like the bit that comes off the hilt of the sword, like the hand guard. We saw what the point of that was in a lightsaber, is the fact that you can burn people with it whilst you're fighting with them. That moment where the lightsaber goes into the snow, and it's just like on Hoth in the Wampa Ice Cave. I love that. I love the references, man. And it flies over to Rey, and you think, holy shit, yes, we're a female Jedi. Funny, because like there was no... All the main characters that were Jedis were male. Even in the original trilogy, yeah, there were female Jedi, but all you saw of them was they stood there a bit. And yeah, and so finally, fantastically, the main character is female Jedi Rey. Now, I wonder if she's related to Luke Skywalker in some way, or whether she just happens to have the Force. It could have been, but you never know. Well, one thing's for sure, she's not getting trained because she's too old. But the ending then, when they go off to that, I mean, it was very much the first part of the trilogy. Like the original Star Wars, of course, was a one-off film, wasn't it? So they had a very definite ending, whereas this is the first part. So they set it up brilliantly, and she stands at the top of the mountain, and Luke Skywalker turns around. Oh my god! Pretty much everyone in the cinema just sort of went. Oh! And I mean, not a single word was said, but that was a brilliant bit of acting from Mark Hamill, because he looks like he has been through the ringer. It was absolutely fantastic, and it's a real testament to how you can say a lot without dialogue. She holds out the lightsaber to him, the music swells, and you feel everything. You look into Mark Hamill's eyes and you see everything there. Amazing. Cannot wait for the next one. I think I've covered everything. I was sat on the bus thinking about what I could talk about on my way home, and I sort of planned it all out, but as I've started talking, I've just started gushing, and I've jumped all over the place. I've forgotten bits, I've jumped back and forth. I think I've pretty much said everything. I did touch on the expanded universe briefly. As I said, I haven't read much of that or any of that myself, but there were parallels, because they did scrap it, and sort of 70% of the fans went, that's all right. The other 30% went, but what about Thrawn? It was interesting how they do appear to have kept elements of that storyline. So they have a bad Solo, and Luke went off to a planet to train the next generation of Jedi. I'm fairly certain that happened in the expanded universe, and I'm fairly certain he ran off and he disappeared at some point as well. So I feel like that was also a thing. General Snoke, I want to talk about. Sorry, Supreme Leader Snoke. He was not as alien as I'd hoped. Because I did read a spoiler about Snoke, thanks to that Jar Jar theory. And he was meant to have like a hood, a bit like a cobra, or he was meant to look alien. That's why he was computer generated, and that's why Andy Serkis was playing him. So I think the actual thing that we got was just like it was basically Voldemort, wasn't he? It wasn't as good as I'd thought, because you could have just put a guy in makeup for that. But the fact that his hologram was so massive leads me to think it's going to be some kind of Wizard of Oz type scenario where the hologram will switch off and a little old man will come pottering around the side. But all in all, I thought that was very good. It was shot very well. It was acted very well. Thank God. But there is that anecdote about Daisy Ridley said that J.J. Abrams came up to her on the first day of shooting and told her that her acting was wooden and she needed to sort it out. So, he's already a better director than George Lucas was in the prequels, unfortunately. I find it hard to be angry at George Lucas, though, because he did bring us Star Wars, he just wasn't very good at directing or writing. Yeah, there was no mention of the coarseness of the sand on Jakku. It just gets everywhere. It was all just... It was... what can I say without gushing like a total fanboy? I feel like they had a very difficult job. Their job was made a lot easier by the fact that they had respected J.J. Abrams there and revered Lawrence Kasdan there, and they did a very good job. They used the cast from the original trilogy very well. I think they didn't take the main, the main focus. They didn't have the main roles. They were just sort of there supporting the newcomers, which is very good. And yeah, I think especially that scene at the end with Luke Skywalker, when there's literally no dialogue whatsoever from the second they land, or even from the second they take off. There's no dialogue at all. I feel like they really took on board what people sort of said about the prequels, and you don't have to exposition everything. There was a tiny bit of exposition, of course, but the advantage of a thing like Star Wars is that, and especially the fact that this is a sequel to the original Star Wars, is that everyone knows everything about it anyway. So you don't need to exposit everything, if that's even a real word. There might be more of that in the next one, the one after Rogue One, I can't remember what it's called, Episode 8. Because I feel like they're going to have to explain a bit more about the galaxy at large. They can't just say, oh, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. That's my opinion. But I'll be very interested to see what they do. We're at the stage now as well where pretty much most of that First Order appears to have gone. Unless that was just an outpost and they actually are like a proper Imperial remnant with many worlds. It seems like that was a lot of them gone there. So whether in the next episode we'll see the rebellion, the resistance, and the First Order on sort of a level footing, or the First Order is still big and bad, we don't know. Are we going to see the Republic in the next one? Who knows? But it was just really, really good. And I shall be seeing it again. I hope you will too. I was slightly worried because, of course, Phantom Menace got good reviews when it came out, because people sort of went, no, it has to be good. Of course it's going to be good. So it'll be interesting to see how people react to it after it all dies away, after it all dies off, and people look at it objectively rather than just going, ah! But my God, I'm so happy about it. To me, it felt like it was done very well. They told a story, and that's what it should be all about, really. So yeah, that's it. Apologies, this was a bit hairy, but like I said, I just had to talk about this film. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on whatever the next video is. Bye.